Tonight on CFTK-TV News, an advocate shares her story for Brain Injury Awareness Month. The fate of a BC grizzly bear is up in the air, and a new ferry design being tested in BC.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, June 18th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news that's local to the Northwest. It's been 37 years since Yvonne's life changed forever in a tragic accident back in 1987. Today, she stands as a symbol of strength, resilience, and determination. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante met with Yvonne to talk about brain injury awareness.
With unwavering determination, she turned tragedy into purpose, advocating for brain injury awareness and supporting fellow survivors. It was sheer determination that helped her stay focused and push through some of her toughest challenges. That same spirit drives her to advocate for brain injury awareness. She's actively involved in community outreach, donating books to local libraries and spreading hope wherever she goes. This June, as Canada marks Brain Injury Awareness Month, Yvonne says she's proud of the progress being made. She's especially encouraged by MP Gard Jones' Bill C-206, which calls for a national strategy on brain injury.
The general public has to be aware of what a brain injury is, and that it doesn't matter how a brain injury occurs, you need funding and help for the survivor, but also you need to help the survivor, because anybody, anywhere, at any time can sustain a brain injury. Maybe one day you will, and then you want the services, whatever, available now.
Her caregiver calls her an inspiration and loved by all.
She is loved everywhere she goes. She loves being home, but there's so many things she wants to be a part of in our community. It's hard to keep her home.
Yvonne stays active and sharp, playing memory games like Simon, netting, and Tai Chi to improve her balance, and diving into more books. Yvonne's dream is to travel the world someday, and she's not giving up on that either.
I like to travel on the via train.
A survivor, a fighter, and a light for others. Helen Asante, CFTK-TV News.
Interior Health says a person who traveled to BC earlier this month was infected with measles. The health authority says people who were at a McDonald's in Sparwood, BC, near the Alberta border on June 8th, may have been exposed to the vaccine-preventable disease. Interior Health says it's trying to follow up with people who may have been exposed, but the risk to the public is considered low. It says people who may have been exposed and are unvaccinated, immunocompromised, have a child under 1, or are pregnant should call the health authority. A grizzly bear that's made its way to an island in the Georgia Strait may have a target on its back after repeated contact with humans. Here's CTV's Andy Garland with more details on Tex.
Residents say Tex the Grizzly is getting comfortable with his surroundings.
He has been to the south end of the island and he moves very quickly back up. He does feel safe around the community.
And that's a growing concern.
It's not good for him to stay on Tex Island. It is not safe.
But Tex has a checkered past. And according to the province, through a statement to CTV News, he is not new to them and was relocated twice last year after he was initially found wandering near schools in downtown areas in Gibsons and Seashell, adding that he has displayed aggressive behavior while on Texada Island, and no people are concerned both for public safety and the welfare of the bear. Unfortunately, he isn't a candidate for relocation a third time around.
I think they have a policy like 2 strikes, you're out.
A BC bear biologist with roughly 40 years experience believes Tex is being pushed out of his natural territory from more dominant grizzlies and has written a letter to the province requesting he be translocated and not relocated like the past 2 attempts.
Translocation means you take it further than what might have been its former home range. a much longer distance.
And he's supporting a coastal First Nations effort to have Tex translocated to their remote territory in the Knight Inlet.
It's in a recovery area. There's very few grizzlies there for it to compete with.
I think that we're in a position to help it. And I think we should help it, that's the reason that we've offered to take the bear in the first place.
The province says there are currently no traps set and are not actively pursuing the grizzly, but will respond if it shows threatening behavior.
It's going to get in trouble in Texada. For me, that would break my heart if this bear ends up dying as a result of just doing what bears do naturally.
If Tex ends up being translocated, there's a 30% chance he might wander and go elsewhere.
3/4 of the community are in total support of a translocation,
which is a chance so many are willing to take. Andy Garland, CTV News.
Coming up next, the unexpected store that's providing support. A unique grocery option in the Fraser Valley is providing support and healthy options for families that may be facing tough times. Here's CTV's Michelle Bernoro.
3 years ago, Andrea Sigmund was in a tough spot.
I suddenly became a single mom to 3 littles, 2 toddlers, and a newborn baby.
And she found herself struggling to put food on the table.
Sometimes it can be really hard to ask for help.
She was referred here to the Gathering Market.
Come on in.
It's a boutique grocery store.
We didn't want it set up to look like a warehouse.
Started by another mom who also understands what food insecurity feels like.
When my kids were little, we struggled to put food on the table. And as a mom, it is one of the hardest things to admit that you're not able to feed your own children. And I had to rely on handouts. And I hated every single minute of that.
Now a Red Seal chef, Hika Morton has taken her skills and created a non-profit grocery store that looks like a high-end market.
Our families have a tendency to fall between the cracks. They're not who you would think of that would need to use a food bank or a free service of food. They are families who do not want to have to go that route, but they cannot quite afford a retail grocery store.
Tucked inside a church, the Gathering Market offers families affordable, healthy food choices.
If you have $30 or $40 a week to spend on groceries, that is enough to make sure you have food for your family for the entire week. Garlic chicken rice bowl, that's the one.
Every week, meal kits are created by volunteers with donated surplus food.
Our meal kits will serve a family of 4 for only $5. It's a little bit like a chef's plate, so everything is prepared, measured out for you. We will have everything from chicken and pepper fajitas to black bean and beef burritos to hamburgers to smokies and buns.
In the past 3 years, Gathering Market has provided more than 51,000 meals.
But Gathering Market provides more than just food.
These people are here to love on you, to help you, to support you.
It also offers dignity.
See you, Andrea.
Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Abbotsford.
The BC Wildfire Service says it has issued an area restriction around the Kiskatinaw River wildfire near the BC-Alberta border. The service says the restriction takes effect this morning and will last until October, restricting entry to a large swath of Crown land where the fire has spurred evacuation orders and alerts. The Wildfire Service says the blaze is now more than 265 square kilometers in size. Over on the other side of the country, nearly 700 people in Badger, Newfoundland were ordered to leave their homes today as a wildfire is getting uncomfortably close to their homes. Officials there believe the fire was sparked by lightning yesterday. CTV's Garrett Berry is in St. John's and is tracking the story.
We were presented with sort of worst case scenario in terms of how long it would take to evacuate once it did reach either of those points, and I wasn't comfortable with the amount of time that would leave us to evacuate the communities.
Better safe than sorry, says Newfoundland Premier John Hogan, as a wall of smoke engulfs the town of Badger. At just about noon today, he ordered everybody out of this community, a town of about 700 people in central Newfoundland. Officials suspect this fire started just last night in a lightning storm. It has already grown to more than 500 hectares, fueled by hot, dry weather and winds. 3 water bombers have been assigned to battle the wildfire, but as of this morning, it was too dangerous for firefighters to get close on foot. A province-wide fire ban has also been instituted to ensure nothing will distract the crews. There are 2 other active wildfires in the province, both under control. Residents of Badger are being asked to head to Grand Falls, Windsor, a neighboring town about 30 minutes away.
It's for people's health, it's people's livelihoods, it's people's lives. This is a very serious situation. These forest fires can move much faster than even the math can show sometimes.
Weather has not been helpful for those firefighters so far. There is some showers expected in the area a little bit later in the forecast, but today it's been warm, dry, and windy, all conditions that favor the spread of flames.
For the weather, we're just 2 days away from the longest day of the year. The sun rose at 4:57 a.m. this morning in the northwest and sets at 10:13 p.m. tonight, giving us 17 hours and 20 minutes of daylight. Tonight on the north coast, expect conditions to be mainly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers, a low of 10 degrees. Over the next few days on the north coast, expect a chance of showers tomorrow, then a sunny 17 degrees for the weekend, more sun on Monday as well. Daily highs around 14 to 17 degrees, overnight lows between 9 and 11 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect it to be cloudy with a 60% chance of showers, becoming partly cloudy before morning. Winds from the south at 30 kilometers an hour, gusting to 50, becoming light before morning. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect a warm, sunny weekend with temperatures climbing to 29 degrees. Overnight lows between 10 and 15 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking like you might get a few showers ending near midnight, then partly cloudy, a risk of a thunderstorm early in the evening, and a low of +5 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a few clouds tomorrow, then sunshine for the weekend, before maybe some showers come back on Monday. Daily highs between 17 and 26 degrees, overnight lows between 8 and 11 degrees. Checking your northwest highways now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect. Also bridge maintenance, mowing, and utility work going on. On Highway 37, watch for bridge construction and maintenance, as well as frost heaves and a material spill. On Highway 37A, there's a section to watch for falling rocks, as well as road maintenance going on. On the Niska Highway, there's bridge maintenance, and this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, Ukraine was top of mind at the G7 summit. Some MPs are in for a late night tonight because of the government's major projects bill. A House of Commons committee is scheduled to sit until midnight as MPs study Bill C5. The legislation would give the government sweeping powers to drive forward major projects deemed to be in the national interest. The bill is expected to pass Friday. Severe destruction in Ukraine has kept the country top of mind during the G7 summit, where President Zelensky has received pledges of support. Here's more from the summit.
Prime Minister Mark Carney welcomes Ukraine's president to Kananaskis, but the meeting was overshadowed by a night of deadly strikes back home.
One of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war.
Ukraine's capital was bombarded overnight Tuesday with Russian missiles and drones, killing more than a dozen people and injuring 130 more. Canada is pledging over $4 billion in additional support to Ukraine and new sanctions targeting Russia.
Drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance.
Canada's backing and Zelensky's invitation from Carney to attend the G7 summit is monumental for the Ukrainian community.
It's one of the ways to show that the world do not forget us.
Many rallied leading up to his arrival in Alberta, and showed other signs of support.
He is a hero. He is our champion.
But there is disappointment with the U.S. president's absence. Donald Trump left the summit early due to the escalating violence and conflict in the Middle East.
Come on, like I don't believe he cannot do this from Kananaskis even to make some decisions, but to stay and to show the respect to all those leaders who came.
Watching discussions unfold is Lee Reeney, the chief editor at the Lviv Times. He questioned Trump's early exit after the tense meeting at the White House earlier this year.
There's a big sentiment in Ukraine that he left primarily because he did not want to deal with Zelensky. He did not want to deal with the questions.
Despite Trump's absence, the director of the G7 research group believes Zelensky will consider his trip to the summit a success.
Boy, he's going to walk away from here with a lot more money, a lot more arms, and a lot more sanctions against Russia. So he'd be pretty happy when he leaves.
Premier Danielle Smith posting online greeting Zelensky on his arrival, writing Alberta stands with Ukraine, a sign of hope for those watching the war and heartbreak unfold back home.
Really hopeful that this will bring us a step closer to peace.
The Prime Minister's office has confirmed that Mark Carney will travel to Europe on Sunday for a pair of summits on NATO and Canada-EU relations. During the summit, European Union leaders said Canada is likely to sign a defense procurement agreement with the continent. An update now on the fighting in Israel and Iran, where death tolls continue to rise amid missile strikes and sirens. CTV's Adrian Gobriel reports.
Israel's missile defense system shoots high into the dark sky in the early Wednesday morning hours as explosions echo across Tel Aviv. With this latest war in the Middle East now entering its sixth deadly day, earlier this F-15 Eagle fighter jet is filmed taking off for Iran, strapped with warheads. As a young child surveys this gaping crater from an airstrike on Tuesday north of Tel Aviv, Israeli Canadians like Raphael Posh, a father of two who's worked as a paramedic across the world, believes Iran's military response feels far more precarious than what he and his family have grown accustomed to in recent years.
If one of those missiles hit, it takes down a city block, as opposed to if one of the missiles from Hamas would hit, it takes out an apartment, a room, a hole in a building, depending on the size of the rocket. So there's definitely a lot more of a worry, and there's a lot more of a feeling of urgency.
Hamilton, Ontario doctor Panid Borhanju took this video following an Israeli airstrike on a building down the street from his family's apartment in Tehran.
It's terrifying, and I was only probably 700 meters away from the blast side.
Borhanju is one of the fortunate few who've been able to safely cross into Turkey at a land border, forced to leave his extended family behind. He took this video of his last moments in Iran, as the flash of rockets could still be seen in the sky.
And then I had to sort of leave and say goodbye to them in Tehran, which was very emotional. Especially my mom, because she hugged me and said, "If this is the last time I see you, it's possible." But as sad as it is for me to say.
At least 224 people have been killed in Iran, 24 in Israel, since the fighting began late last week.
On his own social media site, President Donald Trump posted that the U.S. knows exactly where Iran's supreme leader is hiding, calling him an easy target, though vowing not to kill him, saying, quote, "At least not yet."
Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index climbed higher, while U.S. stock markets closed mixed. The Canadian dollar dropped under half a cent. The price of gold rose $1.20. Oil dropped 7 cents. Natural gas rose 14 cents. Aluminum gained $21.50. In Toronto, the TSX gained 18 points. The Venture Index dropped 4. In New York, the Nasdaq dropped 25 points and the Dow Jones fell by 44. Still ahead, the DNA data breach and its implications. A missing 3-year-old girl from Montreal has been found alive in Ontario. An Ontario Provincial Police drone located Claire Bell on the side of the highway near St. Albert, Ontario this afternoon. A data breach has an ancestry company under fire. CTV's Abigail Biman explains.
Calling herself a sperm donor kid, 23andMe helped Rachel Curry find 6 half-siblings and her biological father.
It was kind of like putting all the puzzle pieces together with just like a test online.
But she's concerned by new findings from British and Canadian privacy commissioners who report the genetic testing giant didn't properly protect customer data or have safeguards in place.
If that information is compromised, it's kind of scary.
Unlike usernames, passwords, and email addresses, you can't change your genetic makeup when a data breach occurs.
In 2023, a hacker carried out what's called a credential stuffing attack, using stolen login info to gain access to health, race, ethnicity information, and more, mostly derived from the user's DNA.
That can be used to craft some very customized messages to us. And anyone who's been caught up in this really needs to have their heads on a swivel, eyes wide open, because they're being targeted now and well into the future.
The UK Privacy Commissioner levied a fine equivalent to 4.2 million Canadian dollars. His Canadian counterpart doesn't have the same power.
I will continue to use all the tools that I have, but I need more and better ones.
23andMe declared bankruptcy in March and is in the process of being bought by TTAM Research Institute, led by its former CEO. In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson said by the end of 2024, 23andMe had implemented multiple steps to increase security, and as part of the deal, TTAM Research Institute made several binding commitments to enhance protections for customer data and privacy. The privacy commissioners say they expect the new owners to stick to those commitments, and they'll be watching closely.
A new electric ferry design is being considered in BC. Here's CTV's Brendan Strain.
It's called the Artemis EF-12 Escape, and it could one day be the future of passenger-only ferry service in BC waters.
Our boats are quite transformative.
It's fully electric, equipped with hydrofoils or wings underneath its hull, lifting the vessel entirely out of the water while at cruising speed, dramatically reducing its drag, reaching speeds of up to 30 knots, nearly double the pace of a conventional ferry, all while using half the energy.
We're here trialing a transformative new technology.
FRS Clipper has partnered with the Victoria-based consulting group, Greenline Ferries, bringing Artemis technologies to BC from Northern Ireland to have a look at the feasibility of using this technology in the Pacific Northwest.
This could be a game changer for the number of routes that we can supply to British Columbians.
The CEO of FRS Clipper says the technology is sustainable and cost-effective, with the cost of the vessel being comparable to the cost of a conventional ferry. The ferry company is considering an expansion between Bowen Island, Gibsons, and downtown Vancouver. If that was to prove successful, the company says a route between Colwood's Royal Bay and Victoria's Inner Harbor would not be out of the question.
We call them shortcuts, right? Anywhere where you can connect, the heart of one community to the heart of another, that's an opportunity for a passenger-only ferry.
The Escape is Artemis's water taxi version that could be configured to carry up to 30 passengers. FRS Clipper is exploring purchasing the EF-24 passenger version, capable of carrying up to 150 passengers, which Artemis will be rolling out later this year.
Is a little small for our projections on the Victoria to Seattle route. However, that doesn't say that someday there can't be 2 or even 3 operating alongside each other, providing more frequency and more choices.
It's technology that could offer a smoother ride in rough waters, with a lighter environmental footprint. A seemingly floating vessel, which could be the future of passenger ferry travel in BC. Brendan Strain, CTV News, Victoria.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.